When people are considering home care for their loved ones, Kean, what's a good checklist or questions that they should ask the home care provider?
The first big question is figure out what the client really and truly needs. Different agencies are going to specialize in different aspects of what's going on. Some groups are we really focused on Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, and we fall into that game plan, or in helping people do their physical therapy so they don't go back to the hospital. So I would kind of find out what those needs are, and that's going to form a lot of your questions. However, a good place to start is Google the company, see how long it's actually been in business, and kind of what the reviews look like. You can find out an awful lot about a company by what people are willing to say about them online.
Yeah.
An awful lot of it really comes down to what is their process of hiring caregivers? Because at the end of the day, it's that caregiver in the home that's really going to make or break the relationship. So some critical things to check are how much experience do the caregivers have? Do they have certifications? For example, in Ohio, a state-tested nursing assistant, which a couple of months of additional training would be required for personal care. I also would like to find out if they give specialized training in things like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or congestive heart failure, so that they kind of have got a good idea what they're working with there. You'd like to know if they're employees or if their caregivers are employees or if they're private contractors. There are companies in Columbus where you're expected to pay the caregivers directly, which can create taxation issues, liability issues. I always tend to want to hire companies that have employees that have got background checks and drug tests and insurance and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, good point.
I would ask about what their policies are if a caregiver doesn't show up. Most agencies will have a quote unquote on-call so that if nature happens, somebody is sick, the car won't start, we've got backups to be able to provide in those types of situations. Also, I'd ask about cell phone policies. This is one in particular for some of the younger caregivers. Unless people are specifically told to, in my first couple of years, I wasn't wise enough to realize that some caregivers want to spend a lot of time on the phone. So we establish a policy of you can only be on the phone in the event of an emergency or if you are doing something actively with your client, like looking something up.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have even thought about that. That's true because it's so distracting and it's such a draw when we have our cell phones with us. And if you are responsible for another individual, being a caregiver, and you've got your phone right there, you're not giving that care recipient really the time that they need and deserve and the care.
That's one of my pet peeves. So we always make sure that we train people that if you're there as a caregiver, you're there to take care of somebody, not to play on your phone.
Right. Don't neglect them. Yeah.
I would also, a big question is, what if we don't like our caregiver? At the end of the day, caregivers and clients should look forward to seeing each other. They should have like a relationship. Yeah. If it's not feeling good, then the agency should probably work upon getting another caregiver in. I would also check their policies on, do they try to match caregivers to clients, or do they kind of have the revolving door where multiple caregivers will be coming in to take care? It's just not that efficient. Also, for clients in particular with Alzheimer's, change isn't necessarily a good thing. So seeing new faces can kind of throw things off. So we always strive to get that one-to-one relationship. I'd ask about minimum hours. Most home care agencies will have minimum shifts because it's hard to get somebody to go to a client's house for less than 3 or 4 hours. And they'll have some weekly minimums. Of course, you want to ask about the rates. In the Columbus area, you'll find a wide variety of rates, probably from a low of $30 an hour to, on some of the shorter, more specialized pieces, you can get into $40 or so per hour. And last, but certainly not least, I'd look at the personalities of the management you're going to work with, because you'll be speaking to them on a fairly frequent basis. And you want to have somebody you can get along with and that you feel comfortable and safe with.
Oh, gosh, that's a really great checklist. Pretty comprehensive there, Kean.